Our 69 overall wide receiver Wuke David is heading into his final game of his sophomore season against a 5-6 Kent State team. Wuke feels mixed emotions reflecting on the season so far, as he's developed into a real threat on the outside, but it hasn't resulted in the team success he thought it would. Wuke wants to show out in what could possibly be his last game in a Bulls uniform, but just like the entire season so far, things never go as expected. On the very first drive of the game, Wuke and his QB had a miscommunication. He was trying to go long, but his QB anticipated the hitch instead, causing an interception that was taken back for 6. Wuke wasn't about to let their losing streak continue, and took matters into his own hands as he improvised to get his team all the way down to the 1-yard line. The Bulls would then score to tie the game at 7 apiece. Midway through the third quarter, Kent State was up 13-7, until Buffalo ended up going for it on 4th and short to take the lead. As the final quarter starts, Wuke realizes what's at stake, and gets a huge gain right off the bat. He starts to enter a flow state that he'd never experienced before, and on the very next play, does this. Wuke makes a phenomenal play, getting a 64-yard touchdown that puts the Bulls up 8. Kent State could never recover after that, and the Bulls hung on, winning 28-20, with Wuke David winning player of the game. Wuke had a monster performance in what could possibly be his final game as a Bull, putting up 157 yards on 13 receptions along with a touchdown. In his sophomore season, Wuke finished with 96 receptions for 1,041 yards, along with 5 TDs, and he averaged almost 11 yards per reception. As his season comes to an end, Wuke had a career-defining decision to make. Does he stay with the Bulls where he'd be the clear wide receiver 1, but most likely be on another losing team as he missed a bowl game in both his freshman and sophomore seasons? Or does he transfer to a larger program where he could win, but would have to prove himself all over again against even better competition? Ultimately, Wuke decides to bet on himself and enters the transfer portal to find a new home for his junior year. There were a lot of good options out there for Wuke, but with the little coverage he had this year, there were very few teams that knew how special he was. It came down to 2 teams, the Utah Utes and the Arizona State Sun Devils. Both programs were great options as they were proven winners, along with each having great QBs to throw to Wuke. But Coach Kenny Dillingham and star quarterback Sam Levitt went all in to persuade him to come to Arizona State, promising him he'd be a starter. So Wuke went on a visit to Tempe, Arizona. And after seeing the campus, what the golf courses around it were like, how amazing the weather was, the women, and the overall culture being built around a commitment to excellence, he knew it was the right place for him. So Wuke David commits, and going into his junior season, he'll be an Arizona State Sun Devil. He's excited to get to work. How will Wuke's junior season turn out now that he's in a completely different situation? Find out in the next episode.